from Los Angeles, it's the John Kerwin Show. I'm your announcer, Keith Leon, along with Nicholas Burns and the Night Owl. Tonight's guest, Michael Dorn, with musical guest Marina Vee. And now, here's your host, John Kerwin.
All right, welcome back. Tonight's guest is a multi-talented actor, perhaps best known as Starfleet Officer Worf on Star Trek. He's currently on the hit ABC show Castle. Please welcome Mr. Michael Dorn. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure.
You know, it's an odd thing, not one, not two, but more than a few people, when I told them you were coming on the show, asked me, oh, is he going to come on as Worf?
No.
Like, you're going to go into 3 hours of makeup and do that for us.
No, I would do it, but for $1 million.
Is that right? Oh, we have that on this show.
Oh,
yeah.
No, that's just the thing. When we first started doing conventions, they would say, "Oh, would you come in makeup?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." And they said, "Oh, that's great. Yeah, for $1 million."
Right.
And they go, "No, it's okay. We'll just take you," and because it just was one of those things that I could have done without it.
Let me ask you a question. Were you a Star Trek fan as a kid, like
Yes.
the original Star Trek?
Yes, I was.
You were.
Yes, I was.
Little did you know, huh?
Little did I know, and my brother and I, that we grew up on it. We love the Klingons.
Huh.
Love the Klingons. We love Scotty. We love Scotty more than the Klingons, but we love the Klingons.
What was it about Scott you liked? He was.
He drank all the time. He was everything he did. They say, "Okay, Mr. Scott, you're relieved for 5 minutes." You go, "Do you mind if I have a little bit of scotch?"
Yeah.
An interesting thing. There's an interesting parallel that happened is that he drank scotch like a lot because the fans, once the show took off and the conventions got bigger and bigger, they'd bring him scotch. Oh, Mr. Jimmy, we got scotch for you. And he started drinking like a lot of scotch.
Right.
And
so the fans drove him to alcoholism.
I don't know about that. But there was a scene where they thought it would be cute if Worf liked prune juice. I kid you not. I started getting prune juice from the fans everywhere. At the conventions. Oh, Mr. Dorn, we got your prune juice. Oh, that's very funny. And it was just terrible.
I know that the comedian Carrot Top, anytime he's in his dressing room, they always bring him carrot cake. And he has it in his contract in capital letters, "Do not bring me carrot cake. It's not funny."
It's not funny anymore.
Now, one of the exciting things about an actor is that you never really know where your career is going to go when you start. Did you have any idea that you're going to be in science fiction, or
No.
you didn't orchestrate this at all?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, there was a moment when I knew that they were going to do Next Generation, and I said, I called my agent and manager, and I said, "Look, I'd really love to read for this." And they called and they said, "No, we're sorry, it's already cast," and that was it. And then 2 weeks later, they called my agent and said, "We're looking for a part of a Klingon, and would he come in and read?" And I said, "Sure, you bet," and that was it.
How did you approach that audition? Did you go in his character? Like how would you?
Well, you didn't know what the character was, but I knew what Klingons were. And so I just kind of made something up, in my own head about this, but I just basically went in to the studio. I mean, when I got to the studio, I was in character, and I was very sullen and very, gruff, and walked in and, asked the secretary. She goes, "Can I help you?" And I go, "Do you have a place I can be by myself?" And she goes, "Yeah, over there," and I go, "Thank you." And when I went in to read, there was Gene Roddenberry and Bob Justman, and these names like crazy. And you go, "Oh my God," inside I'm going, "It's Gene Roddenberry, Bob, oh my God," but outside I was just, that didn't even crack a smile. And when it was over, I said, "Thank you very much," and walked out, and that was it.
Right, totally in character,
Totally
and that worked for you. They didn't think,
I guess
well, maybe
it did,
this guy is unbalanced or a psychopath.
I know. He was perfect.
Yeah, he's perfect.
Yeah, but I just never, because all my career I played doctors and lawyers and boyfriends and things like that, and kind of nice guys, and there was such a departure. I was, pleasantly surprised that they chose me.
How would you describe, for people who don't know, the character of Worf?
He's a guy's guy. You know, he's a
He's a
little
badass.
He's a badass, but he's, you know, he's a guy, you know, so he's a little slow, you know. You know, he doesn't understand. I mean, he doesn't understand comedy. He just kind of doesn't get it, you know. And he's always like, you know, kind of looking around for, you know, like a explanation of something. But he really is a guy's guy, and I think that's why people like him, because he really, that's who he is, and he man a few words.
Now here's an odd thing about your career. Your very first movie, you were in the original Rocky.
Yes.
You played one of Apollo Creed's bodyguards.
Yes, I did.
That is, so what was that movie experience like for you?
It was amazing.
Low budget movie.
Low budget movie. Nobody wanted to do it. They didn't want him to do it. They didn't want the director. They didn't want anybody. They hated the idea of this movie. They were literally, not figuratively, going to pull the plug. They were literally going to pull the plug because he wanted to do this one scene where he was drinking and he got drunk. And he says, I really need to do this scene. And they didn't want to do it. The studio didn't. And they said, we'll give you one take. And they had a guy that was over near the generator that runs all the lights and stuff who was literally going to pull the plug out if they tried to do 2 takes.
Oh, God.
And as you know, as smart as these studio execs are, the movie goes on and wins, you know, the Oscars and billions of dollars. And
interesting that he wanted to have a scene where Rocky is drunk. I wonder what that would have been like. Because he kind of sounded drunk as it was, the character. Didn't he?
That's true.
If he's drunk, he'd probably speak clearly.
I know, he's sober.
We got to take a quick break. We'll be back more with Michael Dorn. Stay tuned, folks.
John will return in just a moment.
I got the medicine that everybody wants. I got the medicine that everybody wants.
Welcome back. Talking with Michael Dorn. Now, you play on Castle, the ABC series. You play a therapist.
Yeah, a psychiatrist.
Tell us about that role.
Actually, I read for the doctor, and it was actually a nice little role. But then they said, you'd be better as a psychiatrist. I don't know why. But they, and it just became this kind of running thing. So I've done 3 episodes, and there's probably going to be a couple more. But she gets shot in the last episode of the last year. And so she's trying to, kind of get back in the saddle again, and she's having a hard time.
Now, they're in love, aren't they, on the show?
Yeah,
kind of?
yeah, it's unrequited, they're missing each other like 2 ships in the night, literal. And so he's helping her with being shot and also with her love for Castle.
Now, you, I said you were an experienced voice actor. You've done voices in animation as well. What's your favorite creation?
This little character called I Am Weasel.
And you were Weasel.
I was Weasel, yes.
Does anybody know what that is? Familiar? A couple people are familiar with that. Yep.
Yeah.
Would you mind giving us a little bit of that? Sample of that voice?
It was a weasel, actually a weasel, and they thought they had this idea that he was going to have this big voice because he knew everything. He was, like a doctor and a lawyer, and he flew planes, and he was just everything, And he just would yell, "I am Weasel." And that's him. And he had this sidekick called IR Baboon, and they played off each other. A nice little contrast.
Yeah.
It's a cartoon. I'm talking about these people,
Yeah.
They're not real. They're about that big.
To end the interview, I wanted to do something, if it's okay with you.
Sure.
I believe, this may or may not be true, but I think I do a fairly good Nicolas Cage impression.
Can I hear it?
Yes, yes. And I thought it might be fun for Nick Cage to talk to Worf, if you wouldn't mind. Would you like to hear that?
Yeah.
So if that's okay, I'll start off. Let me think for a second. Well, first of all, I just want to say, I've always been a fan of the Starfleet and wanted to know if there were any qualifications if I wanted to be involved.
Well, the first thing is, and may I say this, I love National Treasure.
Oh.
It's a lovely movie, quite exciting.
Comes as a surprise to me, but
yes,
thank you.
yes. We get it in space. sir.
Is that right? I knew it was international. I didn't realize. I have to look up those residuals. Going to get space dollars.
I'm sorry.
Okay. How about a hand for that? That was great. I loved it.
That's very good.
Yeah, thank you.
You cracked me up.
You do Worf really good too.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much for coming on our
My
show.
pleasure.
It's been an
My
utter
pleasure.
pleasure. Thank you very
Thank you very
much.
much.
Michael Dorn. Closing out our show is musical guest Marina Vee, and her CD is called My Star. So watch that, and we'll see you next time, folks. Thank you very much. Good night.